Code of Federal Regulations for the Intellectual Property Research course at Boston College Law School. When Congress wants to do something that requires technical expertise or close oversight, they will often enact legislation that delegates authority to an administrative agency to create rules that regulate future conduct. The manner in which these rules are made is set out in the Administrative Procedures Act. Rules and regulations created under this process that do not exceed the authority granted the agency by the delegating legislation have the force and effect of law. They are a type of primary legal authority and as such need to be included in your search for binding primary legal authority. The Code of Federal Regulations is the topical arrangement of all the federal rules and regulations currently in effect. The CFR is divided into 50 titles that represent broad subject areas ranging from agriculture to wildlife and fisheries. Some CFR titles have the same numbers as their U.S. Code counterparts. For example, Title 26 of the U.S. Code is the Internal Revenue Code, and Title 26 of the CFR is Internal Revenue. And some don't match up at all. For example, Title 37 of the CFR concerns patents, trademarks, and copyrights, even though each of those subjects is covered by a different title of the U.S. Code. Title 37 of the CFR, Patents, Trademarks, and Copyrights, is divided into 4 chapters, each of which contains the regulations from a different agency dealing with intellectual property issues. The CFR is revised annually on a quarterly rotating basis, which is why the official CFR volumes are printed as paperback books in a different color each year. Not all titles are revised at the same time. Titles 1 to 16 are revised as of January 1st each year, while Titles 28 to 41 are revised as of July 1st each year. Citations to the CFR should have the title number, a section number, and a year. For example, the first section in the regulations from the Copyright Office are Title 37 CFR, Section 201.1. It's important to include a year in a CFR citation since the same section of the CFR may read differently in different years. The time I made this video, March of 2023, the date of the most recent Title 37 of the official CFR was 2021, although more recent versions are available on commercial platforms and even government websites. The CFR part is the equivalent to the chapter in the U.S. Code. It's a collection of related regulations from the same administrative agency that should be looked at as a whole to make sure you're reading the regulation in context. Some CFR parts may start with a definition section or sections on purposes or policies, which should be helpful to consult no matter what you are looking up. The part number appears in the PFR section number to the left of the dot, making it easy to tell when sections are in the same part. Before the first section in a part, there is usually an authority statement. This is the statute that gives the agency power to make these rules. At the beginning of many CFR parts, there's also a source statement. The source is the equivalent of the statutes at large citation that appears at the bottom of U.S. Code sections. This is the citation to the volume and page in the Federal Register where these final regulations were first published. Some individual sections within a part have their own source statements, especially if they were added or amended separately from the part as a whole. The official CFR is available from the Government Publishing Office on govinfo.gov, the GPO's platform for government documents. The annual editions of the CFR on GovInfo go back to 1996. They are all exactly the same as the print volumes of the CFR. You can download the entire Title 37 or individual chapters, subchapters, parts, or sections in either PDF or XML formats. Rather than browsing for the section you want, you can use the Search tab to pull up a CFR section by citation. Remember that Title 37 is updated as of July 1st every year, so the most recent CFR available is often from a previous year. As I mentioned, at the time of this filming in 2023, the most recent official 37 CFR was from 2021. The GPO also provides a more up-to-date CFR called the eCFR. The eCFR is free and usually never more than a couple of days out of date. Lexis or Westlaw tend to be a few days or sometimes weeks behind. The eCFR allows you to compare the current regulations with previous versions of the same regulation back to 2017. Historical CFRs back to the original 1938 edition are available through Hein Online. Use the Quick Locator tool to pull up a CFR by year, title, part, and section. Remember that Title 37 is updated as of July 1st every year. There are current and some historical CFRs in all the major legal research systems like Lexis and Westlaw, although none have holdings as far back as Hein Online. Topical legal research systems like VitalLaw will often have parts of the CFR that are relevant to specific topical reporters. For example, the Wolters Kluwer intellectual property practice area has Title 37 patents, trademarks, and copyright, and also parts of Title 21 food and drugs and Title 19 customs duties, which also contain some regulations relevant to an IP practice. So, what is the best way to find the CFR sections you need? One way can be through the authorizing legislation. 17 U.S.C. 702 authorizes the Register of Copyrights to establish regulations. The context and analysis link from this USCA section on Westlaw brings you to a page that links you to the associated sections of the CFR. USCS on Lexis has similar links from the authorizing legislation to the regulations that result under the heading Research References and Practice Aids. Another way to find relevant sections is through an index. The CFR itself comes with a single-volume paper index to the CFR parts. I looked up the topic copyright, which provided references to CFR parts that deal with copyright, not all of which are in Title 37. Westlaw has a much more detailed CFR index online to particular CFR sections. Under the heading Copyrights, there are links to particular sections within Title 37, sections within other titles of the CFR, and cross-references to other parts of the index. You can also run a full-text search of regulations on any of the online platforms, but even more useful than the superior search engines of Lexis and Westlaw is the fact that there are references to interpretive cases and other citing references from these systems. On Westlaw, the notes of decisions make this an annotated CFR, and KeyCite provides references to all citing cases and other citing sources, and there are selected references under context and analysis. Shepard's for the CFR also provides citing references. One of my favorite features that is exclusive to Shepard's is the ability to get references to citing authorities that were citing to a specific subsection of the CFR section you are Shepardizing. This lets you track references to the particular subsection of the CFR that you are interested in. For example, we can ask to see citations to 37 CFR section 2.202.3, subsection A2. These subsection reports are divided into citing decisions and other citing sources and can be narrowed through a search or by using filters.